Hello, everyone. It's Tonia, your money myth buster. But today I am coming to you with something new, something that I'm launching called Tea with Tonia. It is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time because I am just really blessed with the people in my life and the stories and who they are. And I've been wanting for a while to put out into the world good and stories of good because I could find when I did watch the news that a lot of the theme out there is fear. A lot is just stories of negativity. And when I opened my business 8 years ago, I realized when I got out of corporate and I went into this world of being an entrepreneur, I just started to hear these amazing stories of people, of their perseverance, of their courage, of these situations where you thought that, or they didn't even think that they were going to succeed, and they did. And I kind of knew then that I wanted to share these stories with others. And so today with Tea with Tonia, that is happening. And I'm beginning to just share the stories of the magical people in my life, whom I meet. And the first person that I have with you today is Nicola Humber. She is the author of Healing Your Inner Good Girl and The Unbound Woman. She is also the founder of the Unbound Press. I could go on, but I will let her tell you a little bit about herself and the magic that she is.
Oh, thank you, Tonia. I'm so excited to be here. I've got my cup of tea.
Me
Tea
too.
with Tonia.
I was like, what mug am I going to use today?
um, hmm. So a little bit about me. As you said, I'm an author of 2 books. I'm based in, well, right now I'm in Rochester in upstate New York, and we met in New York City when I was down there for a Mama Gina event. But I split my time in a very unbound way. Unbound is my word. You'll probably hear me say it a lot. I split my time between here and the UK. Where I'm from. I'm from a place called Southampton on the south coast of England. So I split my time between the two places, which, I guess, like I said, my word is unbound. Like freedom is like my key value. And I always, particularly for the past 10 years that I've really been on this path, wanted to create this life of freedom. And now I'm able to live between these two places. I run my business from wherever I am. I work with clients all over the world. Yay! And we've just started the Unbound Press late last year, which is a publishing imprint for unbound women, for them to share their stories, because, and I know this is one of the reasons you're doing this, is when we share our stories, that's how the magic happens. It happens for us through the sharing and expressing our stories, and it also happens for the people who connect with those stories as well. So I'm really passionate about doing that.
I love that. And I love that you're doing the Unbound Press, because it just is this, it's like we get so honored. Like we do something like Mama Gina's and we meet people. And I feel like when you are an entrepreneur, you're constantly in arenas where you're meeting people who are doing amazing things, and the stories are just magnificent. Like it just one better than the next. And so it's really awesome that you're doing that in the form of book, in your way of just getting that out there.
Absolutely. Well, I've always loved books. Since I was a little girl, I always would have my nose in a book all the time. And I always wanted to be a writer myself. But then I kind of got completely shut down from my creativity, I think, because I was very much, I talk about the inner good girl, and I'm very much was like trying to follow the good girl path and have a sensible job, and do the proper thing, and kind of writing and creativity didn't seem to be part of that. So I shut that part of myself down for a long time. Got a good education, got my degree, got a business degree, worked in finance, corporate for a long time, until my mid-30s really. And it's only then that I started to kind of reconnect with who I really was, my unbound self. And writing has been a huge part of that. So to be able to write 2 books, and I've got at least 2 more bubbling away in the background.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love hearing, though, the connection, because I didn't even know this of when you were little, that this is what you wanted to do, because I find so much when speaking to people that once we get to that point of, and you said it perfectly, reconnecting to your joy, it kind of goes back to something that we wanted to do as children, or something that we love to do that we kind of threw away because we needed to be the good girl or
Yeah.
do all the shoulds and follow the rule book. And it's like, oh, hell no, like absolutely not. And then you reconnect. And so the fact that little Nicola wanted to be a writer and
I
now
know.
it just comes full circle. I love, 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 love hearing that.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd heard, people say that before, think about the things you used to do when you were little, what gave you joy, and reconnect with those. But even when I was hearing people talk about things like that, and I knew that I loved to write and I loved to read, but I still didn't feel for a long time that it was possible for me. I didn't see myself as a writer. And this is what I find when I'm speaking with women now, to actually, own the fact that they are a writer, they're authors, and they have something of value to share. That can be quite a long journey to actually recognize that. And that's why I really wanted to create this kind of vehicle, this platform for other women, because it took me a long time, even when I started my own business and I knew that I wanted to write a book, it still took me a long time to actually go, yes, I can do that.
Oh my God, I love it so much. Which then just brings me on to like the question that I want to ask everyone, which I think is a really important one, is what was the pain point, or what was like that pivotal moment that had you say, I'm not doing this anymore, and start moving towards the life that makes your heart sing?
Mm-hmm. It wasn't so much a moment. It was very much a time in my life. Like I said, I was working in finance. I had this corporate career. From the outside, looked successful, had my own property. I had a good job, was doing all the right things. But inside, I just knew that I did not want to do that. Like, I couldn't do that for the rest of my life. I couldn't go into an office every day. I'd enjoyed the work in finance for a time, but it was like, no, I was switched off from that. And I'd moved companies. I'd been headhunted from a company I'd been with for a long time, which was it was pretty much all men. I was the only kind of financial advisor, financial planner in a group of men. So it was a very masculine kind of alpha environment. And I was headhunted by this company where it was two women who were setting it up, like in finance. And I was like, well, maybe that's the thing. Maybe this is going to, make me feel better about this. And maybe this is going to light me up again. And very quickly, once I got into that new job, I realized, no, it's not. And I would just go into this office every day and just think, I can't do this anymore. But I didn't know. I had no clue what I wanted to do. And throughout the years, I'd always had an interest in kind of alternative therapies and personal development, kind of in the background. I wasn't really sure about what I wanted to do. So I would just go to the park or a coffee shop every lunchtime just to get out of the office. And I remember sitting on this bench in this park opposite where I worked and just thinking, what can I do with my life? I was probably about 35, 36 then. And then during that time, I went for a weekend at a health spa with my sister, which is something I used to do. I still do it now, but I used to do it really as a way of escaping what I was doing.
A lot of that.
And there was this woman, a hypnotherapist, who was doing a demonstration. And I wouldn't normally have gone to something like that. I'd never had hypnotherapy before, but I said to my sister, I really, let's go and see this. And we did. And to be honest, she was this woman. She's not like any hypnotherapist I've ever kind of seen or worked with since. But there was something in what she was talking about. She was quite eccentric, but she was just really creative in the way she worked. And I just thought, I just knew in that moment that's what I wanted to do. I thought, this is it. And I'm so grateful to my younger self who actually took that inner knowing, that kind of intuitive kind of hit, and thought, yes. And she went with it. And I started looking into different courses that I could do to train as a hypnotherapist. And within I think about 3 or 4 months, I'd made the decision to leave my job in finance, like this proper job. They thought I was crazy.
Proper. I love
I
that. Yes, I know. God forbid we are not proper.
Exactly.
Throw the rule book out. Oh, it must be a midlife crisis.
Exactly.
Please fill in the blank.
Yeah, so I left that. I started this training in hypnotherapy and coaching. Got a part-time job to support myself. And, you know, that was really the beginning of this journey. So that was back in 2009. I started my business in 2010. And really, I thought, oh, yeah, I've made this big decision. That's it. I'll be a hypnotherapist. I'll be a coach, set up my practice, and then everything will be straightforward. And, you know, as I'm sure you know, Tonia, it's not quite. Once you start something like this, it's like you get onto this train that you can't stop, this journey.
Yes.
It keeps going deeper and deeper. I always say, you know, I talk about the unbound path. And that was kind of really the beginning of me taking the unbound path. And it's one of challenges and huge growth and magic, and all sorts of things have happened along the way. Yeah. I never would have expected that I'd be where I am now. And yeah, it's amazing.
That's the magic. And that's the really cool part is, like you said, you go in with one intention, right, with the hypnotherapy, and now you've created this whole other community, like, but that was the stepping stone. And I think that that's what I love sharing the stories about for people when they're thinking of taking this leap and going into, and you know, it's not even being an entrepreneur. It might even be going into another career or doing something different and not knowing where to start, because sometimes we could focus on the big picture and that's the end result. In between, there's these little synchronistic things like going to the spa with your sister that leads you to the next thing. And then that little voice in you that you learn to trust tells you, like, do this. And you're like, well, makes no sense. And then it leads you. So it's really just listening for those little hints and those little hits when they drop in, and just doing it a baby step at a time. And then that's how it forms.
Yeah. I think sometimes people think that they've got to have all of this clarity about exactly what path they're going to follow and where they're going to get to. And I've had moments of clarity along the way, but, you know, I never expected that this would lead to me kind of writing the books and setting up a publishing company. I mean, that's something, even at this point last year, it was only just kind of the faintest idea. And so, you know, when I started the journey, all the way through, and I know this is not the end of it either. Who knows what will happen next?
Oh, yeah. That's, you know, bring in the magic, and it keeps pouring in.
Exactly. And it's trusting it. It's listening and trusting what's coming through for you. And like you said, following kind of those breadcrumbs of inspiration, taking those steps, and they lead you somewhere more magical than you could ever have planned for, because I could never have planned for this.
Yeah, I mean, isn't hypnotherapy tied right into a publishing company? I mean, who could But that's what I love, is you did the hypnotherapy. And I think you had said, just because I've read your books and just know you, it went into helping people in their relationship with food. Then it went back into money, which then led to the unbound community, which led to your books, which led to the community that you have, to the publishing. So it's like there's a trajectory that happens, and you just, best way to say it is get ready for the roller coaster, because you just got to buckle in, and then you just get taken on for a ride. And God, it's exciting. It's challenging, but it's so exciting.
It really is. It really is. And sometimes I speak to women, they're like, oh, but my life doesn't really make sense. I've done all these different things, and people must just think I'm a complete flake. And, you know, and it's like, no, this is it. You know, you're multifaceted. You have all of these different experiences. And at some point, it all comes together and it will make sense. It might start not to make sense again at some point, and it's okay.
It's part of it. And then that means that there's something new being birthed.
Exactly.
So it's the end of one thing, and an end isn't a bad thing. It's just the beginning of the new idea that's going to be the next thing. And I think that's what's so exciting about doing a career that you love, is because you're always in this place of excitement. You're either at the height of it, that you're executing it and in love with it, or you know that there's something new coming and it's still that exciting kind of birthing phase. So
Absolutely.
I'm in love with being an entrepreneur. I can't see any other way for me either.
No, I couldn't work for anyone else now.
No, that's just not anymore. That's not the case.
No.
But
no.
the other thing that I, is my main theme in everything, and why I do what I do with money and stuff, is joy, and feel that that's just a huge feeling to follow in making decisions. So my question to you is, how do you experience joy in your life? Or like, what's your joy spots? What brings you joy in your life? Or what things do you do to invite that in for you?
Oh, perfect. And I love this because one of the principles of living unbound is to allow pleasure to be your guide, which is all about joy. Like, I think sometimes, and I know this happened for me for a long time, I kind of lost track with what brought me joy. I didn't really know what was pleasurable for me, what brought me joy. And I'm very clear now that joy for me is all about connection. And that's whether it's connecting with other people, like with other women, like coming together for a long time. And I think I kind of took this from corporate. It's kind of the way we're kind of trained to do things. It's like, yeah, you work with other people, but really it can be quite competitive. And certainly in the places that I worked, it was quite competitive. Whereas now what I love to do is to come together with other people, whether it's collaborating on a project or like the women who are in my community, the readers of my books, or friends, or whoever it is, to have that sense of connection. That is what brings me joy. Or with, my family, my husband, when we're really present with that kind of, when we're really with somebody. And, it can be like this. We don't actually have to be in the room, but when we're really present with somebody, oh my goodness, that gives me so much joy, to have that sense of connection, and also connection with nature. And I know this is something that we've spoken about a lot. I mean, I have to be outside in nature, at least once a day. That just brings me so much joy, even when I'm thinking, I can't be bothered to go outside, or it's raining, or it's cold. Just kind of being outside, and it doesn't have to be, it's gorgeous to be in amazing places in nature, but even kind of my backyard or out on the porch, or just the local park, just being somewhere with like trees and grass and plants around me, like being in the fresh air, that brings me so much joy. So that is it's that sense of connection that kind of that runs through everything. That's what brings me joy.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Love that. And I get it with the being outside. That's like the lifeline. I feel myself getting out of whack. I usually ask myself the question, when was the last time that not only was I outside, but wasn't doing something? Like the outside was the thing to do, that I was enjoying it, versus just being caught up in the doing versus just the receiving of being outside. So
exactly. And it might just be, quite often when I'm out for a walk or something, it's when I get my best ideas. So there's quite often a lot of thinking going on, but when I have those moments of real presence where it's like, oh, wow, and I just kind of like lean up against a tree, or in the summer kind of lying on the grass, and it's like, oh, this is just, it's the best. And again, that goes back to my childhood when I was brought up. My grandmother, my mum's mum, she lived in a place called the New Forest in the UK, which is just this gorgeous, like ancient forest. It's called the New Forest, but it's so ancient. And we used to go there every weekend and go down to the woods, and those, just thinking of that brings me so much joy. So I love being in the woods now. Anywhere with trees is like my happy place.
I love that. And again, it's just dropping it for me, for anyone watching. And if you're thinking of doing something, you don't know what you want to do, connect back to things you enjoy doing as a kid. Sometimes that really just, even if it's not for the career, but to find things that bring you joy. If I was in a similar spot, there was a while where I didn't know what that was. And I had the liberty to take a year off to kind of just figure that out. And you start to realize they are connected to some childhood things. So it's a good place to kind of put yourself back to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's no accident. Like the things you enjoyed as a child, they are so key.
Yeah.
Often they can be so simple that we disregard them. It's like, oh no, it must be more complicated than that to kind of be joyful or to be doing what I'm meant to be doing. And often it's the really simple things that we want to be coming back to.
You said it perfectly. But Shiz, why now I want to ask, what is something that you would like to either share with everyone, if it's a tool that you want to give, or, what would yourself now tell your younger self, or what's something that you would like to bestow wisdom onto people watching and just share some wisdom with them?
Oh, that's a great question. And there's a few, I'm just tuning in because there's 5 principles of living unbound, and I could talk about any one of them, but the one that I want to, it's one that's coming up for me at the moment. I always find that I'm leaning into one or the other, and it's around kind of shadow integration, and which is really about accepting all of us. So for a long time, I talk about this idea of the inner good girl. And I think, particularly as women, we can be brought up to believe that we have to be a certain way in the world. We have to be nice. We have to be kind to others. We have to please others and put other people's needs above ourselves. And that's certainly what I did for a long part of my life. And often that's kind of people's perceived needs. It's not even what they really want from us, but we kind of think, oh my goodness, I have to be this way. And what I've come to recognize is that in doing that, I was kind of shutting the door on a lot of myself, and a lot of the qualities that I had. I felt that I had to present this image of the good girl, and I think that's something that a lot of women will resonate with. So what I would like to, a big part of the work of being unbound is about recognizing the parts of us that we've either pushed away or shut down or forgotten that we had in the first place, and to be able to express those. So it's about asking the question, what am I scared to show other people? What am I scared to express? Where am I holding back because I'm scared of being criticized or called out in some way, or I'm scared that I won't be lovable or likable if I show this side of myself. And to begin to allow that to be expressed. And this is definitely a process. It's not like a one-off where it's right. Like, okay, I accept all of myself. I'm still discovering, different parts of myself that I've pushed away. Very often, for women, it can be like around being able to be angry or sad, all of these qualities, all of these emotions that we've been taught are wrong in some way. And once we start to allow those, I think sometimes people think with shadow work that if we start to allow these kind of darker emotions or darker parts of us, that it will take over. But actually, you end up just feeling more complete, more whole, and you're able to express yourself in a resourceful way. So I guess that's, and that makes us more magical. I talk about magic a lot, but I don't think we can be really magical and create what we want to create when we're like spending a lot of energy consciously and unconsciously pushing parts of ourselves away. So it's about allowing all of us. So that's I guess that's, out of all of the principles of living unbound, that's the one that underpins everything. It's about really allowing yourself to be fully expressed.
Yeah, so good, because it's not a message that I think women are getting out there, or men even. I know it's unbound, but it's just, it's men don't cry, women don't be too emotional. So instead of really, when you start to do the work of, moving forward in your conscious, you start to realize that everything is just about embracing, accepting, and there really is no right or wrong. And suppressing is about the worst thing that you could do. So bring it all
Yeah.
to the surface, and then they start to just release. So good.
So such an important point what you say that, I work primarily with women, but absolutely this applies to men as well. And when we start to do this work for ourselves, we start to notice the places where maybe we've been shutting other people down unconsciously, often like
Right.
expecting them to be a certain way. I've certainly found that, with some of the men in my life, my husband, at times it's like I expect him to be a certain way. And if he shows another part of himself, it's like, oh,
Right.
I
Where'd that
wasn't
come from?
expecting that. I don't know if I'm comfortable with it. So, it helps us to be more present with the people we love, actually, and to accept more of them.
Yeah. And it goes back to then bringing more connection into the world, which
Exactly.
this is why I love this vehicle. They
Yeah.
say technology has disconnected us, but thank God for Be Live right now, because it connected me to you and having
Mhm.
us be able to do this, even though we're not in the same location. Because I am just so grateful that you came on today to share your journey, your story. It's just amazing. And I would love for you to share where people could find you if you want to know more about the Unbound Everything
Yeah.
press and even her principles. They are fantastic. So he would
Yeah.
love to share where they
Yeah.
could find you.
Absolutely. So the best place to go is my website, which is nicolahumber.com. And from there, you'll find kind of links through to whatever you're interested in. If you're interested in the writing and the Unbound Press, you'll be able to click through to that. And, if you're interested in finding out more about the principles of living unbound, then both Unbound and Heal You're in a Good Girl are available on Amazon. So you can go and grab yourself a copy of those. That would help you to kind of dive a bit deeper into it.
Amazing. Well, love, thank you. I'm honored to have you here. Thank you so much. And I will also share the link to your website on the comments of the Facebook Live. So thank you again for coming and sharing yourself with everyone.
Oh, thank you so much. I just love kind of having conversations about this. And
Yeah.
yeah, I
It's like,
really appreciate you inviting me on.
you're welcome, love. Mwah. Enjoy your day.
And you. Bye.
Bye. All right.